Hi there, we're going to do a couple of questions on percentages before we go on to today's work on equations. So, first question. Remember and pause this if you know what you're doing and just do it and then skip to the bit where I'm giving you the answers. Okay? So, Mel's house value depreciated by 4% and now it's valued at £134,000. What was its value before the decrease? Okay, so before it lost that value. So what we need to think of is the percentage change has already happened. Okay, the house was at 100% of its value, then it lost 4%. So now it is at 96%. Okay, and 96% is £134,000. Okay, so now we can work back from this and find 100%, and then we'll know what the value was before it lost the 4%. Okay, so the way that we do this, remember, is we find 1% and then we find 100%. So if we know that 96% is 134,000, then 1% must be 134,000 divided by 96. And then to get 100%, we're going to need to multiply what we've got for what we've got for 1% and multiply it by 100. Okay, so we take what we've just worked out, the 134,000 divided by 96, and we multiply that by 100. So this is obviously a calculator exercise. I'm not expecting you to be able to do 134,000 divided by 96 in your head. And then when we multiply it by 100, we get 139,583.33, and those threes keep going. Okay, so when we write that in money, we would need to stick in a pound sign. So 139,583. We can put the 33 pence on, although realistically, in this situation, you would be rounding this answer to a number of significant figures. Okay, maybe 4 significant figures. If you were doing that, if you're rounding to 4 significant figures, the answer would be 139,600. Okay. Anyway, we weren't asked to round to any specific level of accuracy. Okay. So the next question. The number of bees in a colony increased by 1.5% in the last year. Now there are 35,000 bees. How many bees were in the colony a year ago? So we've got the opposite situation here. We've increased by 1.5%. So we did have 100%. It's increased by 1.5%, which gives us 101.5% now. And our 101.5% is 35,000 bees. Okay, so we work back to find 1% and then on to find 100%. So our 1%, remember, you take the amount that you've got here and you divide it by this number. Doesn't matter if that's a decimal or a whole number. So we're dividing by 101.5, and then to get 100%, we take what we've just found and we multiply it by 100. Okay, so what we don't need to do is work out what this number is, because we're just going to multiply that by 100 anyway. So there's no need to write it down. We need to explain what we're doing. The key bit of working that you need, though, is this. You've got to show the 101.5 and the 100, okay? Unless you're dealing with a decimal. But in this method, you need to show what you're dividing by, what you're multiplying by, and then, of course, you're going to need your answer as well. So 35,000 divided by 101.5 times 100 is 34482.758 and some other numbers. Right, now bear in mind this is a colony of bees. Okay, so this is a number of bees, so we can forget about the decimals, can't we? Okay, so what we would say is that there's 34,482 whole bees. I know that 7 would normally make you round up, but you can't have a bit of a bee. Okay, whether it's 0.2 or 0.7 or 0.1, you can only have a whole number of bees. Okay, so that's the answer to that. So it increased up to 35,000 from this 34,482. Okay, right, so where we're up to with our equation solving is we've done all this stuff and we've looked at solving equations with variables on both sides, and we're going to do a bit more practice of that today. Okay, I think it's really important that we get confident at this. So today's lesson is basically just we're going to do these 6 questions. Okay, so to start with then, solve the following equations. So we can see in the first one, 3c plus 4 equals 8c minus 11. We can see that we've got letters on both sides. So we deal with that before the numbers. So having a look at the letters that we've got 3c and 8c. And remember that little phrase that I told you, bring baby to mummy. So you move the letters, the amount of letters that is further down the number line. Okay, so we're going to remove the 3c. So the 3c is positive at the moment, so we're going to subtract 3c from both sides. And when we do that, they disappear from the left-hand side, leaving us just with 4. And then on the right-hand side, you've got 8c minus 3c, so that's 5c, take away 11. Okay, looking a bit more straightforward now, so we'll add 11 to both sides to give us 15 equals 5c. Then remember you divide by the number that's multiplying the letter, that's called the coefficient. 15 divided by 5 is 3, 5c divided by 5 is c, and then because we're being polite, we'll turn it round and put the letter first. Okay, and that's the answer, c equals 3. Okay, the next one. Again, think about bring baby to mummy. So we've got letters on both sides, so we move the smaller amount of the letters. So we've got a positive 5u and a positive 2u. So the smaller amount of the letters is the 2u, so that's what we're going to move. So we need to do the opposite of what we've got there. So now 5u take away 2u is 3u. Then we've got minus 3. The u's have disappeared from the right-hand side, so we've got 13. Then we're going to add 3 to both sides. So 3u is equal to 16. Then divide by 3. So we get u equals... Now remember, if this number doesn't go into this number, write it as a fraction first. 16 divided by 3. Okay? Then we look to see if that fraction will simplify. So 16 over 3 won't simplify. There are no times tables apart from the 1 times table where you'll find 16 and 3. But if you wanted to, you could write it as a mixed number. So 3 into 16 goes 5 times, and there's 1 left over. So 16 over 3 is equal to 5 1/3. And either of those answers are perfectly correct. What you shouldn't do is work out 16 divided by 3 on a calculator, because you'll get 5.333, and those 3's will keep going, and then you would be tempted to round it to 5.3 or 5.33, and that's not correct because this is rounded. So unless you're asked to, you shouldn't give a rounded answer as the solution to an equation. Okay, next one. We've got letters on both sides. We can see we've got minus 3v on this side and a positive v on this side. So when we bring baby to mummy, if we're looking about where these letters are on the number line, the minus 3v or the negative 3v is further down than the positive 1v. So it's the 3v that's going to have to move. Okay, so remember you do the opposite of what you've got. So we need to add 3v to both sides. Okay, so that means the v's disappear from the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side we've got v plus 3v, so that's 4v plus 6. Okay, and now we're on to something a bit more straightforward. And remember, each time you write down a new equation, that becomes the equation to solve. It doesn't matter what went before it. This is the equation that we're working with now. So we take away 6 from both sides to give us 4 equals 4v. And then we're going to divide by 4 to give us 1 equals v. And then turn it round, v equals 1. Okay. And then the next one. So 12 plus 3m equals 8 minus 6m. And it's the letters that we deal with first. So we've got a positive 3m and a negative 6m. So the negative 6m is the one that's furthest down the number line. So that's the one that we're going to deal with. So we do the opposite of what we've got. Because remember, the point of this is we want our letters to be positive. That makes the whole bit at the end easier. Okay. And it reduces your chances for making mistakes hugely. Okay, so on the left hand side we've still got 12, but now we've got 9m, and on the right hand side the 6m's gone, so we've only got 8. Okay, so our next job will be to subtract 12. So 9m equals, now 8 minus 12 is negative 4. Okay, then we're dividing by 9 to give us m equals, now remember, if this number doesn't go into that number, write it as a fraction first, negative 4 over 9. Then have a look at the fraction, see if it'll simplify, and it won't, and we can't write it as a mixed number, so there's nothing else we can do with that. The answer is just m equals negative 4/9. Again, if you worked that out on a calculator, 4/9, if you did 4 divided by 9, you would get 0.44444, and the 4s would go on forever, so you would have to round it to write it as a decimal, and that makes it not correct. Okay, so last two now. So here we've got a negative 5x on this side and a negative 3x on this side. So it's the first one that we've looked at where we've got negatives on both sides here today. So remember, you need to move the amount of the letter that's further down the number line. So that would be the minus 5x that needs to move. So we're going to do the opposite of what we've got and add 5x to both sides. Remember, you've got to do the same to both sides because you need to keep your baskets balancing. So on the left hand side, the 5x has gone. On the right hand side, we've still got 7. We did have minus 3x and we're adding 5x to that. So that gives us plus 2x. Then take away 7. 3 minus 7 is negative 4, and that's equal to 2x. Then divide both sides by 2. So negative 4 divided by 2. So a negative divided by a positive is a negative. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So x equals negative 2. Okay. And then the last one for today. So I said we weren't doing too much today. So again, we've got a situation where our letters are negative on both sides. So we're going to move the letters that are further down the number line. So the negative 6y is further down the number line than the negative 2y. So we're going to deal with the negative 6y. That's what we're going to move. So we're going to add 6y to both sides. Then we're left with 15 on the left hand side plus 4y, and on the right hand side the 6y's have disappeared and we're left with negative 1. So our next job is to subtract 15 from both sides. So we're left with 4y equals negative 1, take away another 15, takes us down to negative 16. So then when we divide by 4, we get y equals, so negative something divided by positive something is a negative, 16 divided by 4 is 4. So the answer is y equals negative 4. Okay, well done. So you can see we've done a bit more practice of dealing with letters on both sides. There's not too much left of equations now. If you've kept up with these skills, then you're really, really well on your way. So that's great. You ought to be proud of that. Okay, so well done. Try the practice questions and give a shout if there's anything you're not sure about. See you later.